Sir, we are live now. Please start.
Okay. Okay, good evening, students. My name is Swaminathan. Thank you for coming into this session. So we will talk about O2E cycle. What does O2E stand for? O2E means it's an order to execution, right? So typically, if you take software companies, how do they get an order? When I say order, how do they get a client, right? For a given client, they can do a lot of projects. So how do you get an order? What is the process involved in that? And how do you really execute the project, right? That is where most of us come in. Like you, I am one of the software developers, right? I have been working in this field for quite a long time. So I will share how this cycle works. What are the key things happening in this industry? For that, we need to understand how the market works today, right? See, if you see, not only because of COVID, because of a lot of other factors, the market has been changing. There are a lot of constraints, a lot of new challenges. So how is the market reacting to it, right? Then we will look at the cycle. As a result of this cycle, what are the type of projects we can expect? Now you are all students, right? You complete this B.Sc course, you look for a job in the software industry. What type of projects you can expect to work on? And what does it mean for you, right? And there is a shift in the way the industry is hiring. So I think it will give you a lot of perspective on how to equip yourself, right? No course, no degree can make anyone 100% employable, but it can show you the path. To me, this B.Sc course on programming data science organized by IIT Madras is a groundbreaking one because it has actually given a very equal platform to a lot of people who aspire to be in this field. But in today's world, where internet has become a commodity, there is no excuse for not knowing a new information. You are supposed to know it. And how do you take advantage of that so that you become more employable? That is a question, right? So we will look at these 3 points in this lecture, and we will take about 30 to 45 minutes. Okay. First thing is, I'm keeping the slide deliberately simple so that you can understand what we are trying to speak, right? And all these are directly from the industry. The way I recruit, for example, or my company recruits, or most of the similar companies recruit. 5 key things are happening. First, customers are looking at output and not input, right? You cannot get up and say, I have been working very hard, so give me more money. So that is not possible, right? If you work more hard, what is output? If the client says, for example, let us take a banking customer, right? Banking customer says, my ATM should not be down at all. Then the ATM should not be down. If ATM is down, you have failed. It doesn't matter how many people are working to support that function, correct? Second is complexity. See, today, when I started 30 years back, the only programming language was COBOL, and that was in mainframe, right? Every whole world, when you say whole world, primarily it was the West, right? Was into mainframe. You take any of the old banking system or insurance system, even now it is running on mainframe. But today it is not so. We have got a wearable technology. We have got mobile phones. So the complexity of the landscape is increasing. So earlier, if you know COBOL, you are assured of getting hired by any company. That's not so. Still, there is Java, Python, different languages rule the roost. But you are not expected to know only that. You are expected to know a lot more of skills. What is that? We will see. So you need to be better prepared. Transformation is happening in the multiple technologies. See, earlier, the business used to say, I want to do these things, 1, 2, 3. And they will look at the technology and say, please deliver that. It is not so now. The technology guys and says, I can do one these because this is how the technology landscape is evolving. So I can do this. For example, you go to your supermarket, right? Let's say you go for a shopping. Now, you are shopping. Imagine you are getting an SMS or an alert, okay, in your wearable device or a mobile saying there is a very specific discount for you. It is only for you. Let's say you want to buy a biscuit, okay? And the company knows you have been buying the biscuits, right? They have been studying your behavior, let's say. We will not get into that. But based on certain behavior, based on certain assumption, they are giving you a very specific discount. How is this possible, right? So this means the technology is dictating the business how to run. Now, if the technology can do, the business has to think very differently, right? Then the global, now look at the global delivery, right? Earlier, even because of the COVID and even before that, okay, the location arbitrage, when I say location arbitrage, the differential in the cost of doing work, let's say from Chennai, and the cost of doing work from, let's say, New York, right? Traditionally, outsourcing has relied upon the cost differential. Now that is disappearing. That too, imagine suddenly out of the 100% workforce, minimum 50% workforce can work from home. What does it mean? That means it doesn't matter actually where you are. So customer is also aware of that. When customer is aware of that, he says that, okay, I know that you are not incurring too much cost. Please pass the benefit to me, right? So the customer is becoming knowledgeable. Customer is aware of what is the cost we incur as a service provider. This is a challenge. Then the type of innovation you need to do across multiple devices. You roll out a website, the website has to look good across any device, isn't it? If the website is not readable when you are watching it on a mobile phone, what is the use? You have to think ahead, right? How will it work with across? For example, can I start a banking? You want to open an account. You start the application actually in a mobile phone. Then you just save it for some time because you don't have certain data. Now you go home. Okay, you have got the data. You open your laptop and complete the remaining, right? Now, so you start a transaction in one device, fill it up in another device, complete it in another device. The entire experience should be seamless, right? This is a major challenge for IT industry. So to look at this, I have just captured it in 3 or 4 points here to give you an idea. First thing is a lot of regulatory pressure, right? Regulation is very important, right? For example, if you look at the banking authority, today Reserve Bank of India operates as a ombudsman or as a regulatory authority. Regulatory authority requires certain markets to be functioning in a certain way. They require certain reports. They impose a restriction, right? They may even relax the restriction, but any IT application system has to cater for the regulation. Customer experience has become the key, right? Now imagine nobody walks into a bank now to open an account or to do any transaction. So what is the experience he gets? Earlier, they used to say, I go to the bank because I know a certain gentleman. I always want to go to him because he is very pleasant and he gets my work done very quickly. But now you can't say that. You don't even see most of the people. So the only experience you get is through the device, whatever you are working on. So that should be top notch. Mobility, we talked about it. As you mobile, different devices, it has to work. So automation takes a key, right? Increased automation everywhere, wherever possible, not only to avoid error, but to do a straight through processing. What do I mean by that? That means, see, for example, let's say, take a credit card application form. It goes through multiple stages, may require certain operation to be done. But if you can reduce the hop so that it can go through seamlessly, that is straight through processing. That means there are minimum obstacles where it gets stuck or it is waiting for a decision. Okay. So the more you can do, the faster you can process application. Finally, cost. End of the day, customer is very intelligent. He is expecting, yeah, I know that you have challenges. How do I reduce the cost? How you can help me to reduce the IT cost, right? Which means it is the onus of the service provider to participate with the customer and reduce the cost. So all these trends, see, end of the day, I come back to you. I keep putting my hat as a student, right? What does this mean? This is not a mumbo jumbo. This is not a jargon, right? These have got very direct implications for each one of you. So this means I'm coming back to the IT field, right? Again and again, right? So what does it mean? It means the IT estate. When I say estate, the complete systems or the architecture has to be modernized. It has to be up to date, right? The architecture has to be resilient. Develop open architecture. See, for example, the more and more you go for any proprietary system, you get locked up, right? How much is open source systems you involve in developing your landscape? Infrastructure. Today, infrastructure has become infrastructure as a service. Physical data centers are disappearing. Everything has moved to cloud. Cloud has become a great leveler, isn't it? So that means you can only purchase in certain quantities or incremental quantities, but you don't have to host it. You want tomorrow certain amount of storage space, you can buy it. Next increment, you can buy it. You don't have to worry about where it is kept, right? In a way, subject to certain security regulation. Efficiencies. How is the infrastructure costing me more, or is it helping me to do my business at a lesser cost? This is the key. So finally, virtualization. Cloudification and virtualization is the key for IT. So any IT developer has to understand all these terms. You may not be directly working in each of that, but that is the key. If you get 90, the chances are that 95% you will come across all these terms within the first month of joining your work. So as a result of this, as a result of the way IT expectations are increasing by the customer, what happens? The customer says, hello, Mr. Service. When I say service provider, I'm referring to any companies, right? Take TCS, Wipro, HCL, any of the service provider, right? So, hello, Mr. Service Provider, what is the skin in the game? How much risk you are willing to put along with me? That means when I succeed, you succeed. When I fail, you fail. You cannot keep getting your money even at the cost of my failure, right? So models have evolved. Original model is, I don't know, some of you may know this term. It used to be called a very derogatory manner called body shopping, right? Basically, you want two Java programmers, I give you the programmer, give me the money. This is a rate, right? That is, it is still now done, but very specific niche technologies only, right? But broadly, industry has moved towards projects. The customer says, take this project. For example, I want to develop a billing system for my shop. This is a product I'm using. These are so many of my shops. This billing system has to work with such a specification. That means the screen has to be up within, let's say, 2 seconds. And no transaction should take more than 15 seconds to complete. So he is giving a list of specification. Now he says, you take the project, give me a price. So I say, I will charge you, let's say, $1 million. And I will deliver this in 8 months. Right? Now, he doesn't care how many people you put, and whether you work day and night or whether you work Saturday, it doesn't matter to him. You are committed to delivering within a certain calendar time frame with a cost. And the system should work exactly as he said. If you don't, today's contracts are asking for penalty. When I say penalty, the penalty is huge. For every 1 day of delay, customer might say, please give me back about 10,000, because based on whatever I have committed or the service provider has committed, the customer has gone and made his plans further, right? Remember, there is a customer for an IT service provider, and for the customers. If you take a bank requires IT service. So let's say there is an Indian software company which provides services for bank. Who is the bank's customer? People like you and me who are account holders or who are loan holders or whatever. We avail different services, right, from bank. Now, the bank has promised to the customers so many things will happen. On what basis the bank committed? The bank committed based on what you as a service provider said you will deliver within 8 months. So if you don't deliver within 8 months, there is a penalty. So today's contracts have become very strict, which means when a company gets up and says, I'm very confident of delivering the project, it should be backed with the right skills, capabilities. So I want to give you an idea about the order to execution, right? So it typically starts with an RFI. RFI stands for request for information. Okay. Basically, if I am a bank and I'm looking for an IT service provider for taking care of my entire IT system, right? I float what is called an RFI, request for information. So based on that, I select shortlist some vendors. Maybe 10 vendors have responded. Okay. 10 IT service companies have responded, and you evaluate them, you shortlist it. Let's say you select 5. And for the 5, you go to the next stage, what is called a request for proposal. Basically, this is nothing but what you want, right? What do you want the service provider to do? This contains the customer's expectations of the service provider. So customer might say, for example, let's assume State Bank of India is floating an RFP, and HCL, Tata's, Wipros, different companies are participating. So State Bank of India says, I'm in the process of selecting a partner for the next 5 years. The partner should be able to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 based on the IT service, right? For example, the partner should take care of all my system. They should provide a help desk. They should ensure that my systems are not down more than, let's say, 2 minutes per year, whatever different criteria, right? And that is stated in the request for proposal. After the request for proposal, optionally, the customer might call for a yellow pad session. Yellow pad session is basically a chance for the service provider to come and demonstrate, seek clarifications, and give the proposal. You submit a proposal, right? So when you submit a proposal, you explain two things. One, technically how you will deliver whatever the customer has asked for. Second, the cost or the price or the charges, right, of doing that. So usually, so there is a big defense which happen. Basically, you defend your proposition and you explain to them why your proposal is superior, why your proposal will meet with their expectation. Then they shortlist again. Remember, they started with typically 10 people. At this stage, they shortlisted 5. Among the 5, they may do shortlist 2 or 3 people. Then you conduct what is known as a due diligence, which basically the service provider goes and verifies, ensures that all the assumptions are correct, and finally gives what is called a BAFO, best and final offer. Remember, he already gave one pricing offer at the bid defense. Now he is revising offer because he has got a chance to conduct a due diligence. After the BAFO, the customer might say either 1% or a 2% and do a contract negotiation. At the end of the contract, you sign a MSA, what is called a master service agreement. Only when you sign, now you have become an official service provider to the bank. Now, can you start work? Of course, you can start work now, but for each, now remember, what does the MSA tell you? The MSA tells you, I have selected you for 5 years as a service provider. Now, what is the exact piece of work you will do? For each piece of work, they may generate what is called a statement of work. One piece of work could be, please ensure all my ATMs function correctly. What is correctly? They will possibly they will give a detailed definition. One explanation could be, no ATM should be down more than 5 minutes per year. So that is a piece of work. So for every 1 year, you have to support all their ATMs. So you pay a price. You charge the bank a price, right? That is a piece of work. So you require a broad MSA before you can commence work. And for each piece of work, each piece of project, you do what is called a statement of work. This is a cycle. This cycle takes about 4 to 6 months. Okay, as you can understand. Okay, so it's a long process. That is why acquiring a new customer becomes always difficult. This is the overall cycle, right? Now, if you look at the entire IT industry, a service provider, broadly, there are 3 functions. This is also important for you to understand. Sales, delivery, pre-sales. Okay. Sales is about getting a customer or growing a customer. For example, you may not have got, for the first time you are doing a business with a new customer, that is a new customer, right? Or you are already doing a business, but you are increasing your business. For example, you are doing business with the State Bank of India, but you are doing business only with the southern zone. Now there is an opportunity to do some work in the western zone, let's say Bombay side. You do the work. So you are growing a customer. This is sales. Sales gets the project, right? Sales is responsible for signing the MSA, getting a customer. Once the MSA is signed, we discussed in the previous slide, then comes a delivery. You start executing, right? Execution. That means the project work has to be executed. Now, in between, there are people who I call pre-sales or a solution. What do? They work between sales and delivery. So they help sales. Remember, we saw the proposal. For the proposal has to be responded to. You need to quote a commercial charge. You need to be with the new customer 4 to 6 months to ensure you are there. At the end of it, you are still not sure you will be selected or not. But you have to go through the cycle. Your hit ratio could be 10%. That means for every 10 proposal you give, you may get 1 customer. That's why it is very difficult. Life is. They say never lose a customer which you have acquired, right? Because getting a new customer is 10 times more difficult than nurturing an existing customer. So primarily sales, pre-sales, and delivery. These are the 3 different type of role typically available in IT service industry. So now, if you finish this B.Sc graduate course, programming data science, where do you expect to work? You expect to work in this delivery. This is a key for you to understand. So whatever I have talked about the IT projects, etc., it is based on this. So what are the roles we are talking? Delivery technology role. The role could be based in India or abroad. So you do the requirements from the customer, you do the actual development, you do testing, you deliver, you implement, you upgrade, you release, anything. Entire bouquet of roles come under delivery. In a typical organization, delivery is composed of about 70%. Delivery is the heart of any company. You take any Indian service provider. Delivery is the key because the sales can get more customers, let's say. But if you don't deliver, you will lose existing customer. You have to deliver every time, not first. You cannot afford to relax after delivering one project. For the same customer, you have series of projects running. So what are the type of project? You can be a greenfield project. Greenfield meaning the customer wants a new system. Okay, he doesn't have anything here. So he says, can you help me to develop a new system? That is a greenfield project. Brownfield project. Brownfield, there is something already there. Now he wants you to do something to it. What is that something? That, for example, take a Visual Basic 5 or 6, right? It has run out of support. Now he says, I'm sorry, there is no more support. Can you please rewrite the existing code in another language, maybe Java or Python, whatever, right? So that is one type of work. The concept is already there, available in the existing code. Or he says, I have some business is asking for more change. Can you please go and enhance the code or change the code? Or can you upgrade to a new version? For example, the new version might be giving certain features. Can you take advantage of that in the code? Or simply a remediation. What is remediation? You are upgrading the operating system. As a result of the upgrade, your same code may or may not work. You are not doing any enhancement. You are not increasing the functionality of the code. You are ensuring the same code which will work after upgrading the operating system. So that is called remediation. Or you can say, a customer can say, the system is working fine. I have got a new product, but I want the data to be exchanged between both the system. So I want you to come and develop an interface, right? So these are all the various ways you can develop. Or customer might say support. See, I have a great core banking system. This system takes care of all the account opening to general ledger, any functionality. Can you support it? What is support? See, for example, when a system is not working, what do? You call a help desk, right? There is a number. So we have got a 0800 number, right? Which we typically call a toll-free number. And where does the number go when you dial? It goes to the IT help desk. And the person has to resolve it. That means the person has to be capable. Sometimes the resolution is very simple. He will say, restart the machine, right? Simple as that. Or he will say, this requires some more detailed investigation, and he will call for a support engineer. The support engineer has to look into the code and say why it is not working. Remember, I will also let you in on a big secret. More than 75% of the time, you will never develop a new code. That is not a problem because that's the way the system is, right? Most of the time, there is a code there. You may have to integrate the code or enhance the code or re-engineer the code or upgrade or write to a new code language. Right? Very rarely you start getting a new system and other thing. That's the way industry is, because cost of developing a new system and testing is tremendous, right? Sometimes it's easier to do. Sometimes it may not be easier. At one point of time, the company may decide, okay, I want to completely close this and develop a new system, or I want to buy a product actually. So support is keep the lights on, right? Basically, it is looking at the code, ensuring that you are able to find where the fault is and give a workaround or change the code, recompile, release it, and ensure the problem is fixed. So you can aspire for any of the delivery roles. Okay. So delivery cycle, now I am into delivery because this is where you will all be working, right? So it's very important to understand this. So delivery cycle, I'm just giving one or two examples. Different companies may follow different methodologies. And even within the same customer, one part of the organization might be following what I call waterfall. Another part of the organization may be following an agile development. So waterfall, you go sequentially, right? You know that. Like user from requirements, design, coding, testing, and then release. Once you do the release, you start supporting the system, ensuring there is no failure, right? Or if there is a failure, you go and resolve it immediately. So where do you fit in? We will fit in anywhere, any of the cycle. Here you will have to translate the requirements into design. You will have to understand design, how to write a high level or a low level design, right? What is design? In simple terms, it's a technical interpretation of the business requirements. You will get up and say how technically the system will be implemented. And what are the constraints? For example, this system has to take care of 50,000 users as a peak load. This is a constraint. And your system had to demonstrate it will work. It has to be scalable because I am anticipating the business will grow 20% year on year. And can the IT system support me even in the third year? So you will have to assume certain growth level and ensure the system is scalable. So you have got a set of requirements, functional, set of requirements which are non-functional. You have to ensure the design meets it. Then you actually develop it or enhance it if the code already exists. You do the testing, release. Any of these roles you can do. On the other hand, if it is agile, agile has changed the way thinking. So agile talks about, in general, agile is about frequent releases, right? You don't wait for 6 months to do a release. You do frequent releases, right? So typically you follow a 1 month sprint cycle. So you get you put all the requirements, what we call a backlog, and take a certain backlog for a sprint, work on the sprint. That means you do a complete design, development, coding, release it. Then you take the next feature, release it, right? That way the customer gets a minimum viable product at the earliest opportunity. So customer can look at it and give you feedback. So you interact with the customer almost on a daily basis, right? This is agile. Most organizations, most customers have shifted. But remember, the whole world has not shifted to agile. As I said, within the organization, there are multiple technologies, multiple business units, which are in different state of maturity, right? So on the other hand, if you look at the right side, you've got something called a DevOps, right? So now earlier, we used to have a separate role. Now DevOps is about doing the development, deployment, release, support, development, release. It's a complete cycle. It's the same team which will continue to do both. Okay. Earlier, there used to be a very clear separation, what I call a Chinese wall. Okay. Now that is not the case. The same squad, a complete unit, you are responsible for one product. Let's say all the savings account of a bank, you are responsible. That means anything happens, if there is a failure, if a customer cannot access the bank's website, or the bank's website is hanging, or he is not able to process, he will come to you. So you will do development, you will do support. That is DevOps in a nutshell, right? This is how the world we are moving in. Now, I talked about what is a typical cycle. I talked about what are the type of projects, development, support, and within development, what type of projects you can aspire to work for, right? Now, I want to take you to the roles, skills, and very important point for you, right? How you can upgrade. First thing, I want to take you to the old myths. This is old myths which are prevailing. Okay. First one is, look at we used to say, I'm going back myself about 15 to 20 years, right? Oh, how do I do the interview? Oh, okay, give me the CV, man. Let me look at the CV. Hey, CV looks good. And the CV is about 10 to 15 pages. Very good. That means he has done a lot more work than another guy whose CV looks very thin, right? This is the first assumption I used to make. Most of the people, right? Next one, designations matter. Oh, sir, what were you working in the earlier company? I was working as a vice president. Okay, oh, vice president. The higher the designation, the more he knows, right? That is an implicit assumption we made. Look at the number of years of working. Oh, what is your total experience? Your experience, 20 years. Your experience, 10 years. 20 years experience, he's definitely a better person, right? I need a manager. Oh, I am growing at a fast pace. Okay, how many programmers you are hoping to add? I need for my business at least 100 programmers. If you need 100 programmers, you need at least 5 managers. Why? Because one manager, at least for every programmer, 20 programmer, I need one. Why do you need a manager? You need a manager because for the 20 programmers, I don't know what they will do without the manager. I need a manager so that every day he goes to each of the 20 programmers, allocate work, monitor, and ensure the customer is satisfied. This is how we used to operate earlier, most of the times, right? Some people may or may not agree, but these were all the implicit assumptions about hiring or interpretation. Do you think this is valid? This is no longer valid. Industry has shifted. Okay, this is a very important point for you to understand. What has it shifted when I say, right? It has shifted. Fundamentally, there are three things if I have to sum it up. It has moved from experience to competency. Okay, this is a key word here. I don't give a damn whether you are 20 years experience or 15 years. What is your level of competency? Second, niche to full stack, right? Are you capable of doing these things? You may be good in one, but can you also look at the other thing? Niche to full stack. Third one is subjective to objective in terms of interview, in terms of recruitment, onboarding, etc. Three things are rocking this industry. As a result, the way they are hiring, the way they are evaluating candidates is completely changing. Today, as an engineer, as a development engineer, when you enter a system, when you enter a company, you are expected to have T-shaped skills. Why? Because business expectations are agile and nimble. They want faster changes so that they can go to the market and release for various new features. Second, self-organizing team. Today's teams do not directly need one manager in order to tell you what to do. It starts with the assumption that you are capable of doing it, right? As long as you know what is the objective we are trying to deliver, you can do that. Customers are not the only stakeholders, right? For example, your role may or may not require you to converse with the customer every day. But remember, you have to converse with your fellow team members. You will have to explain the business case to the program team members. There is no room for introverts, okay? You cannot, olden days, you can take the laptop, go to a corner if you don't want to talk to anybody and still be successful. Today, it is still possible, but it is very difficult, okay? And technical mastery is highly respected, okay? And those engineers who adapt and adopt will be the ones who are successful. What do I mean by that? Remember, today the organization may hire you for a Java, right? But after some time, they may say, okay, this is how they have to go to Python, or they have to go to your product. Now they will come and ask you, are you prepared to learn this and then start? If you are rigid and saying, no, you recruited me only for Java. If you don't have Java work, I will not work. Then that represents a wrong attitude, because organizations are changing. What is organization at the end of the day? It is nothing but a set of people. So those who can change along with the organization, be prepared to learn at a faster rate. Don't worry about making failures, right? Most organizations give you allowance. But do you have the aptitude for learning new things? That's a key. So what we have done is we have shifted from doing things right to doing the right things. This is a look at that different, right? You may be doing certain non-value added activity earlier, but you may be doing it right. But the whole activity itself comes under the question whether it is really required or not. Now you have to do the right thing. This is how the industry is changing. And this means a lot of things for you, a lot of implications for you. In short, earlier, look at the pyramid, okay? This pyramid, at the top, your project manager used to sit. At the bottom, there used to be the list of programmers. Though the standard path for promotion of programmer is you join as a developer or a software engineer, you become a senior software engineer, or you become a technical lead, eventually you become a project manager. That is a growth, right? What does it mean? There are two things. One, you, as I said, you require one project manager for every 20 or 30 or 40 engineers, right? Number one. What does a project manager do? The project manager doesn't do anything, coding. He will ensure that all the work is properly allocated and reported to the customer or internally, right? Second, if you want to be in the technical path, earlier the industry did not support that many opportunities. That means even if you want to remain an architect, even after 15, 20 years, you want to be very strong in the technical field, you have no chance, because if you don't follow this path of becoming a project manager, you will lose out on designation, you will lose out on monetary as well as perks. And people in the system also will look down upon you, right? See, today is changing, isn't it? Because you go abroad, you will find a 55-year-old person who is very strong in COBOL programming, and he is very proud of that. The organization respects him for his mastery. And remember, he has not lost out on money or a position. If that is a skill required, he continues, right? He doesn't necessarily have to become a project manager. I am saying project manager or a program manager is another path. but you can continue to remain in a technically challenging field. Depends on what you want to do, right? So many paths are open, number one. Number two, this model has become obsolete now. This is not the model. We are shifting to a capability, a competency-based model. What is a competency here? Any skill you take, for example, a programmer, a Java programmer, or a data scientist, or a Python programmer, or an interface architect, every role, behind that role, you have 5 categories. One is called expert, one is called proficient, competent, advanced, beginner, and novice. This is called a model. There are various rating systems. I'm just taking one example. You can Google it actually. This is called a Dreyfus model. Okay, that means everybody in the organization will be classified into these skills. But remember, you may be, for example, the same person may be classified as a competent in Java programmer. He may be classified as an advanced beginner in architect, right? You get this now. That means this person can play 2 roles, one role at the level 3, another role at level 2. This is what I said about T-shaped skills, right? You can be a development engineer or a support engineer, right? You can do both because as the organization require changes, you will be prepared to do. But what is a level? So now imagine on one stroke, right? You come and tell me I'm 20 years experienced in, let's say, or 15 years experienced in .NET. I said, okay, fine. But what is your level? Are you 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? I don't give a damn about these 15 years. I have ways of measuring where you are. So it actually, that means it is a reward for people who are really after technical mastery. And it is not about every 1 year, oh, you are become 5-year experience in this company, I'm 3-year experience. So a 5-year experience person knows more than that of a 3-year experience. It's wrong. Because 5-year total experience, you may be at a level 2. A 3-year experience guy may be at a level 3. So your salary, your perks, your designation matter more directly proportional to this Dreyfus skill level. Sorry. I hope this is clear. Organizations are not respecting your experience. They expect your competency. And behind every role, there is a definition of what you can do. I will not go through this because you can really Google it. But this is very important for you to understand so that your mindset also changes, right? So for you take any role, for example, take a developer. What is the key expectation of capability? Programming, design, data model, requirements. These are all skills you are expected to do as a developer. You should know this. This is what I call a core expectation. An architect should understand functional as well as a non-functional requirement. He should know what a technical debt is. He should know how to design a system which reduces the technical debt, right? Likewise, these are all called key capabilities, right? For example, take a DevOps engineer. He should know continuous integration deployment, right? He should build a design thinking into the process. He should utilize the tooling ecosystem and look at how we can actually roll out a DevOps in the entire company. So these are all key skills. For every role, as I said, there is a definition behind. For example, you take ETL role, right? ETL is about business intelligence and data warehousing. ETL stands for extract, transform, and load. Okay. So if you want to develop competency in ETL, how do you become a novice? From novice to advanced to beginner, what you have to do? If you have to move from advanced to beginner to competent, what you have to do? These are all fairly defined. So nobody can generally change it. And concepts remain as concepts, right? They are all like first principles. So you can look at it, which field. Now you want to become a developer, you want to become Java, Python, understand what is the definition behind the role. So you can chart out a journey. If from novice to beginner, advanced to beginner, if you want to do it in 2 years, in 2-year calendar time frame, what all things you need to upskill, what all things you need to do so that you can recognize as advanced beginner. Remember, somebody has to certify you that you are now operating at the level of advanced beginner, right? They will not take your word for it. So what all things you need to do is crystal clear. You don't have to ask anybody. You move from one company to another. It doesn't matter. The companies cannot change this definition. That is the greatest asset for you. So what you can aim for, how you can move, what is the timeline to move is entirely within your control. So likewise, there are various, for a tester, what does novice mean? What does competent mean? Everything is defined. This is first aspect we talked about. The second aspect is, I said, you are moving from niche to full stack. What is niche? Earlier, if you look at it, I used to recruit a Java developer. I used to recruit a Java tester. I used to recruit a Java support engineer, right? For doing different things. So let's assume there are no, today, there is nobody has called the help desk. There are no tickets. There is no issues. So what will happen to the support engineer? Support engineer will not have any work. There could be projects going on. There will be a lot of developers. Now imagine, now it's the full stack Java engineer, right? So what is level C? I look at a competent Java engineer. As a competent Java engineer, he should be having a DevOps with a level A. That means he should be proficient in DevOps at advanced beginner. He should have a knowledge of user interface at advanced beginner level. He should have a test automation at advanced beginner level. He should have a database knowledge at a novice level. Now, this is just a sample, okay? It tells you how the industry has moved. So I now recruit a full stack Java engineer who is capable of doing all these things. Remember, this does not mean for every day you have to do all this work. That is not what I meant. But as the workflow changes, as the pattern of work changes, you can take it. You can see how this evolves. I think that is the key to me. Right? So, and you look at the way they have defined, this is a full stack Java engineer. This is also what I call a T-shaped skill. You may be a master in one, but you can capable of doing 2 or 3 other roles, right? At a certain level. Not every level you are expected to be a competent or expert. But do you know the awareness? Can you do this role at a certain level? That is a question. So this is an expectation, right? So that for people who are very rigid about, I will only do this and not, options are limited. So how do we recruit? Today, recruitment has changed, right? When you finish this graduation, when you want to apply to the companies, how do we recruit? Earlier, everybody, we used to have an interview. We used to look at the CV, I told you, and then do the interview face-to-face. Now, we don't, because face-to-face, remember, I also told you, we have moved from subjective to objective. How do I do objective? I ask you, if you want to apply for a job, please log into my portal and do a coding technical test, right? You do a test. The test can consist of various levels, right? So the test might start with a multiple choice question, okay, in your preferred field. So it will say, what are you? It will even ask you, oh, you are a Java developer. At what level do you think you are in the 5 levels we talked about? Accordingly, the questions will be selected, right? Naturally, because I'm trying to assess you at what level. Or you can say, no, I don't know my level. It will give you a general thing and it will tell you what level you are likely to fit in. So you do the multiple choice and they will ask you to develop a code, put it in GitHub. And the code, nobody is going to physically look at the code. We will run automated tools there on the code to look at certain parameters of the code. Okay, there are various tools in the market like SonarQube, okay, which will give you various parameters about how well you have written the code. Then after that, we will not stop there. We will give you a code written by somebody and ask you to look at that code. Remember the role we talked about? Support role. Most of the time, you don't end up writing a new tool. You are always looking at something, finding a fault or finding ways to improve the efficiency or reduce the technical debt. So how do you do? So now the system checks whether you have fundamental concepts. The system checks whether you are capable of writing the code, posting it, ensuring it works. There is no mark for compilation, other thing, right? Because without that, you can't even pass. You have written the code in a very well-structured manner as per the specification. Third is, I also give you a code and let you actually comment on the code. So now it checks. Now after that, we do a behavioral evaluation. How do I do behavioral evaluation? See, remember, my face-to-face time is limited. So I want to reduce the time. That means I want to reduce the candidates who come for a face-to-face, or by the time they come for a face-to-face interview, I want to assume they have been technically very good, right? Naturally. So that my chance of success at a face-to-face level increases. Now we do hackathon. So during hackathon, I get a chance to observe you, right? Many of you know about hackathon. Okay. So in hackathon, you typically, you look at about 40 to 50 participants, break them into 7 to 8 per squad, right? It is conducted over a day. Typically, many customers also get involved. Customers may not get involved, right? But so you look at how this team behaves. Remember, none of the people you met earlier, right? They are all people like you who have come for interview, who want to come to join this company. So they are all called, you don't know many of them. Now I split them into various squad. I give them a business problem, ask you to develop the stories, user stories, look at how you behave. So I throughout the day, I observe you. I don't need any special interview to look at whether you are articulating. Remember, everybody has to have a role. You will be expected to speak. You will be expected to defend your stories, the task. You will be expected to say why this method will work. So at the end of the day, I have got a chance to see your soft skills, your process in terms of how you are working on coding, test cases, and your technology skills. So I get all the 3 dimensions immediately. What more I want? So without even coming to a face-to-face interview, I have got a great chance to assess. This is what the companies are moving. So what does it tell you? It tells you that you have to be prepared to work with others, whether you have met them or not, whether you know them or not. It's not important, right? You need to work. Second, you need to be thorough. You cannot get by with your CV. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. If you don't know how to code, if you don't know how to really actually find error, if you don't know the key terms, system will weed you out. Simple as that, right? So by the time you pass through the hackathon, your technical mastery is established, your reasonable behavioral skills. That's how the recruitment mechanism has changed, okay? This is important for you to understand. So evaluation criteria for a hackathon could be: what is the minimum viability product? What is the level of solution design? What is the definition of done, right? When you say you have completed this, for example, the code should be checked in the GitHub repository. The minimum viable product should be functional. The solution should be scalable. Whatever criteria you agree upfront in the hackathon, right? That's how you will evaluate. And what are the non-technical parameters we will evaluate? What is agile practice? If that is about agile, what are the practices you follow? Are you using the Kanban board? Are you collaborating with the team? Are you collaborating with the product owner? What is the presentation you are doing within the team, right? Remember, you are supposed to do. So all these skills are continuously evaluated and monitored. So this hackathon process helps you to recruit mass number of people very quickly without doing a face-to-face interview for everybody, okay? You will also show the communication skill, okay? Slow, or is he, how good he is in terms of speaking, how many words he speaks, is he loud, is he clear? So is he challenging, is he asking the right question? So many ways to observe for a company to, so this is a way you should be prepared mentally to go through these type of processes to as a part of joining routine. So finally, to sum it up, this is the most important slide for me, because to sum it up, you are looking at the employer's value communication, right? Communication is very important. As I said, there is no room for anybody, any introvert. You need to speak to your fellow programmer, or you need to speak to your customer. You are developing a design, you need to get up and tell why the design will work, why the design will meet all the specifications, why it will be scalable. Critical thinking and data analysis. Look at the data, how efficiently you analyze the data. What is the inference you make, right? And how do you incorporate those inference in the way you develop and design? Finally, technical mastery. There is no substitute for this. You want to become a top class Python, you have to become one. You need to put in effort for it. There is a saying that where to develop a mastery, you need to put 10,000 hours or something like that. Whether it is 10,000, 5,000 doesn't matter. If you are not passionate about it, you can never develop. Remember, technical mastery, there is no substitute. You have to develop it, you have to demonstrate it. There are various ways of assessing it. Okay. So as you come out of this B.Sc program, you will most likely get into, yeah, as I said, in the competency scale, you will fit into novice in terms of you can take the role of a developer, tester, full stack engineer, or a data scientist, or an interface engineer, or a support engineer. Any of the roles are possible for you to do after this program. As I said, you cannot stop only with this program. During the program, you need to equip yourself to do a lot more things. I will articulate in 3 ways. First one, English. I believe a lot of people said, why we have to do English, right? I think you are sadly mistaken, because as I said, if you cannot articulate, you cannot do much. It is, whole world is not a multiple choice question. You are expected to write specification in clear English. You need to know and you need to understand. If there are 15 pages of requirements, you need to say what are the top 3 requirements. So my request to you will be, by the time you graduate, you think about getting an English certification at a B1 or a B2 level. Okay. For example, you can take IELTS, or you can take TOEFL, or you can take certificate in advanced proficiency in English. All those things you can take, because Even if a company wants to post you abroad, this certification will become mandatory. Most countries impose that English you should be qualified. They look at only any international certification. Mind you, these certifications are typically valid for 2 or 3 years. So my recommendation will be you do it towards the end of your degree. But for the other thing, analytical in terms of pre-C writing, looking at, see, olden days, we used to look at hints, develop a story, or condense a 3-page English essay into 1 page, right? Those skills are still sought after. You need to develop, work on, there are various websites which help you to polish this. On technical depth, do not be content with only the courses what is offered here. Look at, reach out to other certification. There are various forums you can interact with on YouTube. They are all free. You don't even have to contribute to the forum. You join the forum, look at what is the type of questions being asked, what is the type of challenges, and how people respond to it, right? That is the key here. So when you look at the response, you will also see how they discuss the code, what is the error in the code, etc. I think those are the top skills you require. So as you keep doing the program, ensure that you do all these 3 things, set up these 3 things. To give you an idea, I listed certain certification you can look at. Not all certifications are free. Some are free. For example, if you take any course in a Coursera for 7 days, it's free. Okay, you can look at that. And there's a special discount for students. You can. Remember, NPTEL itself offers a lot of domain certification in computer science. In addition to the courses, you can take certain other courses which are mutually exclusive to this. But remember, you set your goal with respect to what is the proficiency you want to attain and in which area. Accordingly, you work. Okay, you can become a Kubernetes certification, Docker certification, or AWS Azure DevOps certified, right? DevOps courses are available on LinkedIn, less than 2,000 rupees. There is a Microsoft which offers DevOps training course free. See, you cannot complain today that there is a dearth of opportunities to dig out free things in the internet. There are so many. Of course, if you want to get a proper certification, it might cost. But in terms of learning the fundamentals, looking at the example, there is nothing which is stopping you. You should do it. And various testing, which once you get this certification, you can put it in the CV. For example, there are certification for Scrum Master, certification for Agile Practitioner. If you want to become a safe Agile, Spotify Agile Specialist, you can do that. You can want to become an automation engineer, you can do it. These are all will help you by the time you graduate. You can do it. So this is how the industry is changing and the roles are what you can look at. So my final request to you students will be, take advantage of this course. This course is very rigorous. It will teach you a lot of skills, but don't be content with that. There are so many things available on the internet. Use it. Develop what you want. Prepare a roadmap. Accordingly, develop all the 3 skills. Develop your English skills. Learn to speak in English. Learn to write in English. And the coding and the analytical thinking skill. There is no substitute for it. Do it. Practice it. And interact with the forums. There are so many forums available. Once you attain a certain level of mastery, take 2 or 3 very important certification. And once you get the certification, you can put it in the CV. That will make you more employable. And you also know what is the practice of recruitment being adopted. You will stand out if you do this. If you know what you are going to be subjected to, if you know how you are going to be evaluated, you are always 1 step ahead of others. So go ahead, enjoy the course and develop your skills. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I wish you all the best. So there are, am I audible? I hope, Balaji, am I audible? Yeah. I hope I'm audible. There are some questions which I will take. I will try to do justice to that. Okay. So one person, Sumit, has asked for, I'm having 5 years experience in IT support, how I will change or enhance my career, right? So look at you can say, as I said, if you want to polish your skills in support engineer, there is no harm in that, right? You can become the top class support engineers. They are always in demand. Remember, every system in today's world is is supported today by somebody. Without support, whole thing will crash. You can, but if you want to become a full stack engineer, you look at some of the certification, what I said, so that your support skills actually come in handy, Sumit, and you can take advantage of that. Because the end of the day, support is about interpreting a code, fixing, finding the root cause. That is always the skills when you have to develop. But in addition, you have to know more development practices. You have to do more development in order to do that. So my suggestion will be to look at a full stack engineer role in addition to this. Okay. Next one, Krishna, dear sir, will there be different qualification expectation of a development support engineer today? Excellent question. See, the fundamental attribute that whether you have to show technical mastery is absolutely important. There is no, what should I say? There is no, the importance is always there. Okay. That is the most important one as far as. So whether it is a development support, the expectations are same, but in terms of certification, you can look at a certain specific certification for development, etc. I think that is the most important. You can do that. Next one, Shankar from Chennai. Is there a direct path for us to become an architect? This is something I'm very keen, and your advice is crucial. Okay. So yes. So as the end of the course, I'm assuming you have no prior experience. If you do not have, if you just complete this degree, you will become a novice development engineer, right? An architect is a path where you have to do development. It's like for a good tester, if you have done development, it becomes easier, isn't it? The same thing for architect, but architect requires mastery over design. That means the time taken for design, what you do as a development engineer, will be slightly lesser, much lesser than the time taken by an architect, because an architect is required to certify whether this design will stand the time of the day. That means whether it is next 3 years, do I have to change the design, or will the design stand in good state, etc. So those are important. So you assess the quality of the system for functional requirement, non-functional, etc. So there is a path. You need to work in the development, and at the same time start enhancing your concepts with respect to architecture, start participating in design, and take very focused certification for architecture. That is the main thing for an architect. Okay. Then we have another question. There is somebody who is, how do you judge a competency over experience during hiring? That's precisely what I talked about during the hackathon. See, today's hiring is less of face-to-face, because before coming face-to-face, you are actually asked to log into your portal and actually do two things. One, given a code, give a comment, give your comments on the code. Second, this specification, please write the code, put it in GitHub. I will evaluate. And actually, I will run an automated tool which will give you how well the code is written. So it is for you to judge it. And you don't have to wait for a recruiting organization, isn't it? So Tanmoy asked the question. So Tanmoy, you don't have to wait for a recruiting. You know some of the tools which are open source tool. So you write a sample code and run the tool on yourself, on the code what you have written. See what is the statistics it is spitting out. That will tell you also the points or areas where you need to focus. Kunjesh Singh has asked about, please explain more about full stack. See, there is a detailed description available. I will just give 1 minute explanation. Full stack is about having multiple skills. That means, can you develop? Can you also do design? Can you also do support, etc.? I am not expecting you to be a very competent in all the three, but are you capable of adapting? Because today, quantum of work may be more in support. Tomorrow, the quantum of work may be more in development or in design. Are you willing to adapt? That is the key. So there is a full stack engineer certification you should look at. Another question by Harsh Singh. After completing IIT Madras online course, will I become a full stack? As I said, no course can make you 100% of that. For this, you need to do certification for becoming full stack, which I have given you. I will also share some of these slides with the IIT team. They can pass it on to you. And that's very important, because there are so many good certification available, but it will give you a heads up. See, it will give you enough skills for you to do this. I think that is the thing you should look at. Vijay has asked for any additional certification we can aspire to qualify in English. This I thought I talked about. See, there are two suggestions. most, if you have to go abroad today, most companies, not only English speaking countries, you take any European country, because the work is done, the IT communication is done in English, they expect you to be proficient in English. And for them, they don't believe you when you put it in the CV saying I'm extremely good in English. They go with a certification. So you have to look at TOEFL certification with a certain score, IELTS certification. All these, both the tests will give you reading, speaking, listening, and writing, right? Or certificate in advanced proficiency. Cambridge has got many certification. If you go to their website, it will tell you what is equated against B1, B2, or C1. By the way, A1 to C1 are the levels of language as certified by European Union language framework. For any language, like competency, you can say I am in English at B1 level, I am in English at B2 level, right there. So my suggestion will be, do it, start doing the practice, but take the exam towards the end of the graduation, because it will be valid for 2 years, right? I will be spending some money, but this is very useful, not only for joining, but also for going abroad. Okay, some more questions. Can we go to robotics field through the course? See, there is nothing which stops you from doing anything. All the courses first require fundamental. That is what is this course aim to do. It aims you to teach you fundamental skills of programming. What is robotics end of the day? Robotics or robotic process automation is about programming, right? But programming in a particular field, in a particular arrangement and other thing. You can certainly do it. But this, if you're looking at only with at the end of the course, will you become a specialist? No, it will not do it. But will it lay the foundation for you? Yes. So starting from second year of the course, once you've got reasonable foundation, you should start looking at what are the courses we can do. I can recommend something for you. Arpan Sahu has asked another question. Thank you for the session. It was very helpful. I will ask, work from home, a future in coming. Okay. Yes. Work from home is going to stay for some more time. As I said, there will be, in fact, most IT companies might even release real estate, right? So it is, but whether you do from work from home, whether you do work from the company, there is nothing which changes as far as the quality of work is concerned. If the customer is demanding, he will continue to be demanding. He doesn't get worried where you work from. So remember, so focus on the work, on the technical mastery. Okay. So another person, I'm not picking all questions, Mahim Mishra, how industry is receptive to experts in banking and FMCG, industry experts in moving to data science. Of course, they are. But you have to be clear, or you want to be hired as a data scientist fundamentally, or you want to be hired as a domain expert. I will tell you, if I want a domain expert, that means, for example, I want to build a, let's say, a credit card system. I look for credit card SMEs. SME means subject matter experts. So to hire them, I go to people who are experienced in that. They don't have to be necessarily working in IT. They, as long as they are IT savvy, I'm okay with that, right? That's how I will look for. So you be clear. Now, if you are doing data science in the domain, naturally you've got a great advantage compared to others, because you know what are the insights you need to look into. Because end of the day, data scientists, when you analyze the data, when you look for patterns in the data, when you are making inferences, you are assuming certain level of knowledge of the industry, right? You know where to look for, what to look for. That will help you. But first, aim to become a good data scientist, because you can't become a half-baked data scientist and a good domain expert. That will not compensate you for that, right? That's all. So one person, Shahid, is asking, sir, we are mentioning complex problem we are facing in data science. So complex problem in data science. So I'll tell you the data science, how it has solved actually in India's COVID problem. Okay. Do you know the clusters? So they have identified using data science very different clusters, and they are also working out what is the order of vaccination, etc. How did they arrive at it? So of course, there are certain order which is compulsory. For example, vaccination of a medical worker, that is always important, right? You can't say no to that. That's the first one. But other than that, which district to focus, which area to focus, data science is helping. Second, data science is helping to solve India's water related problem, right? There are so many direct applications which are really complex too, that can be solved by this. So Guru Raj has asked, what are the implications of automation, cloud automation in the segment networking technologies. Okay, so now, as I said, everything is moving to cloud. Cloud has become a great leveler or an equalizer, if you call, right? There are no more physical data centers, right? But that doesn't take away the ability or the capability of the system required to interface with others. You still require systems to talk to each other. You still require automation. Automation comes in two ways. One is automation of a regular business function, which results in a cost saving, or automation very specific to business process outsourcing called robotic process automation, etc. Right? The networking, infrastructure as a service, cloud, automation, they're all here to stay because not all people have moved to cloud. So there are a lot of organizations in process of moving to cloud. They may take a long time or a short time, but they will do. So these technologies always have very, very important. There are people are looking for cloud experts. People are looking for specific automation experts. How will you move it? Another thing. Okay, what are the implications of different cloud, right? Still organizations are debating about public private clouds. Another thing. What is a journey? Can I move? I have built an application and a product in a certain way over the last 20 years. Can I move to cloud within the next 1 year? What are the pros and cons? What will you advise? So this is very, very important and it's a evergreen, if you ask me, Guru Raj. Okay. I'm just looking at. What is this? One person has asked, Vinod Vasavan, what is the scope of the project management in the new paradigm? Okay. Scope. Now, this is a very interesting question. I will take 2 more minutes on this because this is very good. Actually, now remember, project managers, as the industry originally brought in, that's not a very, because earlier every developer after 5 to 6 years became a project manager by default. Does he know how to do the actual project management? Another thing, we don't know, because that whatever knowledge he has gained by virtue of working for the last 4 to 5 years. Second, we need to ask for the person's interest. Automatically we have moved him to a project manager, right? But if you want to pursue project management as a profession, it is a much sought after skill. Okay, so project management or a program management, right? When I say project, always remember a program. Your program has got a definite start date and an end date. It has got a timeline. It has got a budget. You need to deliver the program. Now, to deliver the program, you may have to work with the resources from your organization, resources from external. For example, let's say you are developing a system interfacing with a 2-3 product. You will have to develop with a product vendor, because you will have to work with the vendor to decide what features are available already in the product, what features are complementary to it, what you will execute, etc. Isn't it? So you will work with the people from inside, people from outside, people from regulatory, and you need to have excellent stakeholder management and communication skill. If you are interested in this course will still help you, because you need to have the fundamentals, in my opinion, right? But the path you have to take is project management certification. If you look at the Project Management Institute, it talks about project management as a process. It consists of about 47 to 50 sub-process. Scope management, cost management, time management, communication management, stakeholder. You need to be aware of certain tools and other things. And the key is project management is domain agnostic. That means it is not that you have worked in a banking, you have delivered a banking project, you cannot deliver another project. Not like that. It's a horizontal skill. You become a good program manager, they are still sought after. Unfortunately, the industry has mixed many project managers and program managers, and they are using it, right? But if you ask me, it's a very, very defined program which you can aspire for, equip yourself and do it. So one person, okay, Anupam Kumar Jha, he's saying he's doing electrical engineering with this course. I don't know why I'm doing, but he's saying he's enjoying. Very good, Anupam. I'm glad you are enjoying the course. I think tribute goes to the IIT Madras team. See, electrical engineering gives you certain skill, engineering, analytical, lateral thinking skills in that field. Now you combine it with this programming and data science. I think this is the best combination you can think about, right? You've got certain skills which you actually gained by doing this online. You are cultivating this. They are all fairly complementary to each other, right? And some of the courses actually you might be part of the electrical engineering itself. So it doesn't stop you from pursuing whatever your dream is. Abhishek, should one choose data science or software engineering as a career? See, data science is also, if you ask me, it's one specific aspect of software engineering. Why it has got a big hype? Because last 2-3 years, this has assumed a lot of significance because the data grew significantly only in the last 5 years. So the organization earlier were looking for data. Now they have a problem because they don't know what to do with the data, right? So simple example is that you post a comment on a Twitter, right? And then it gets responded within the next 2 to 3 minutes. Unless there is an IT system which is capable of deciphering, understanding what you meant, what is the emotion associated with that message, how can it work, what is a remedial action? Think about it, right? So data science is nothing but in its heart, it's a part of the software engineering, but it's a very specialized field, right? So it doesn't really matter. You have to obey your heart in this, right? If you're passionate about data, but data science also calls for specific skills, which may not be required so much in a software engineering, because in addition to that, it requires a mathematics and statistics, which you will use in drawing patterns, in drawing, looking at the data, in deciding what technique to apply in order to even understand data much better, whether to look for a structured data or a unstructured data, right? That's more important. So world is moving towards a lot of tools and other things. So you will focus on a particular aspect of software engineering. You will become specialist in that. So choose what your heart says. I think that's because if you're not passionate about what you do, in my opinion, you cannot really increase your skills in that area. End of the day, this is about while graduating from this course, IIT Madras, the excellent course, which gives you enough skills. What else I could have done in the 3 years or 2 years to enhance my employability? If it is a data science, look at what it is. What is that you can look at, right? What type of thing analysis I can do? And for example, you're talking data science, specifically talking about R programming or any specific software package, SPSS, MATLAB. If this course by itself may not offer you the opportunity, you try. If that is a career you want, what stops you from actually enrolling for such a course and doing it? Look at Explore edX, Explore Udemy, Explore Coursera, Explore specific certification. There is no dearth. You can choose a wide range. And mind you, to learn the concept is fairly free. You can hunt for free resources. Once you are confident about it, you take a certification very quickly, right? So it is just obey your heart, but ensure that you don't waste this opportunity. You use these skills and find what is the right certification for you. Okay. So with that, we come to the end of this session. I think more or less, I think the questions are over. I hope I have done justice to the question. If you have any more question, you can please write to the support team also. We'll be happy to answer over mail. Before concluding, I want to tell you that I hope you have taken certain important takeaways from it. To me, that is the happiest moment, right? I always look for something to be useful to you. This session may be boring or maybe interesting, doesn't matter. But end of the day, if there are a couple of takeaways about how the industry is looking to recruit, to me, that is the key, right? If I were in your position, my immediate worry will be, how do I acquire a job? Second question, how do I get a job in the area I am passionate about? In fact, to me, both the questions should be the same, because if you are not passionate about it, you cannot succeed. So I repeat, you cannot be mediocre and hope to succeed. You have to necessarily become a master in that. In addition, equip yourself with all the skills what you require. As I said, you don't have to ask anybody in the world. You don't have to ask, hello, Wipro, I want to apply for it. Can you tell me what are the qualities you expect? No need. It's all available. That is why the world has gone to this standardization. You want to become a full stack agile. You want to become a product owner. You want to become a scrum master. Go to the Google. Look at the definition of any skill, Dreyfus or SFIA. They will not differ so much. So I want to become a competent scrum master. You know what skills you have to cultivate. Now that's it. So that tells you the path. Now you set yourself a time frame. Certain things, certain time is must. For example, as I said, for architect, even if you want to become an architect in 1 year, unless you have got the required amount of experience or opportunity to exhibit certain things, you will not become. So certain time frame is a must, right? Same thing. To become a doctor, you need to spend 6 to 8 years, right? So that will not take away. But to move from Scrum Master, let's say one level to another, you have certain skills available, listed beautifully. Don't why ask others. Look at it, do your own research. How do I acquire? You set up your own journey. Okay. So I wish you all the best. I hope you really enjoyed this session. We'll be happy to respond to any questions which you can post. Okay. So thank you very much. Best wishes.